What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are here for a special U.S. National Team edition where we're going to project the squad for Nations League next week. It's going to be the first competitive fixture for the United States since November when they beat Trinidad and Tobago 4-2 on aggregate to get to the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals. And it's the last international window for Greg Berhalter on the U.S. men's national team before they reconvene in the summer for a couple friendlies ahead of Copa America. And Copa America is what matters most for this group. It is the biggest tournament, the only real test for this group between the 2022 World Cup and the 26 World Cup. Yes, there is Nations League. These have been very good games and good opponents, good CONCACAF games, but there is no World Cup qualifying. There will be a Gold Cup. There's the Olympics. All of these things matter, but the Copa America is the absolute biggest test, the biggest road mark for this group going into the 2026 World Cup just because of the lack of competitive games. So this being the last window before the summer, it's very crucial. The United States plays Jamaica on Thursday, March 21st, in one semifinal, and Panama plays Mexico in the other semifinal. Winners will play each other. So let's see, what will this roster look like? There's a 23-man matchday squad for the Nations League semifinals and finals. And there's a good chance, if not probability, that Greg Berhalter just calls 23 to this squad. But I think that maybe he'll call 24 and just name a 23-man matchday squad, and I'll kind of explain that later as we go on. I'm assuming that the roster is going to come out not all that long after this video gets up. Sorry about the delay here. The athletic staff were in New York the last couple of days, so I've had my hands tied with a lot of meetings and a lot of seeing folks that we normally just talk to digitally. So anyway, no more excuses. On to my projected squad. Let's start with goalkeepers. For me, the three that Berhalter is going to take is Matt Turner, Ethan Horvath, and Gaga Slonina. For those who missed the cut, that would leave Drake Callender, Chris Brady, Sean Johnson, and Zach Steffen. For me, Matt Turner is still my number one. It's obviously not been great at Nottingham Forest in the past few months, but it's not like he has a ton of competition right now with kind of the state of Ethan Horvath and Zach Steffen and Sean Johnson and everywhere else. Like, it's still Matt Turner's spot for me. And I don't know what would have to change. It would probably have to be a really disastrous performance now and in the summer at Copa America, but whatever. I still believe in Matt Turner. Horvath is the obvious backup, and the third goalkeeper slot here, I'm going with Gaga Slonina because I'd rather have him with the senior team for this camp. But Berhalter has seemed to more or less always give that third goalkeeper spot to, say, Sean Johnson or Ethan Horvath when he wasn't the backup, or Drake Callender, or just insert any other veteran here rather than have a young talent and Gaga Slonina take it. And again, there's a good chance that he's going to be with the U23s ahead of Olympic qualifying. But for me, I would like to see Gaga with the senior group this month. On to the defense. Start with center backs. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson. That means the two that narrowly missed the cut is Walker Zimmerman, Austin Trusty. Trusty's a tough omission. Again, I think that's a toss-up more or less between Carter-Vickers and Miles Robinson, but and Trusty. So any two out of those three is fine. I don't see Zimmerman getting called up, despite the fact that he's pretty ever-present in Berhalter squads, or for the most part, he seems to be favored. He's had knocks to start the season for Nashville SC, and there's enough other options that I don't think he should be picked. And again, I'm a very big Walker Zimmerman guy and think that he should still be in the mix with the senior national team. But right now, on form, on merit, I don't really see it. Tim Ream is age catching up, whatever. He hasn't started the last three games for Fulham. At what point do we get concerned? Again, I think that with the national team, it should take a little bit longer for somebody as established as Tim Ream, somebody who has been as important to this group as Tim Ream has been in the last couple of years. I would see him retain his spot, but that's something to watch. Chris Richard on the come up for Crystal Palace, getting a lot of minutes, which is very good after there was rumors about him wanting to leave maybe for more playing time. So that's been really good. That's been really positive. Well done to him. And again, Miles Robinson, I think that he fits really well in FC Cincinnati, and he's just a player that, again, like Zimmerman, has been called up a lot when he's been fit and available to Greg Berhalter squads, and I think that he should be here on merit as well. Fullbacks. The starters pick themselves, obviously, in Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson. Joe Scally is an absolute no-brainer. And for me, the fourth fullback is going to be Christopher Lund. And I think a big part of that, and again, I think that he would probably get the spot, but it's an easy decision for me because John Token and Caleb Wiley should be with the U23s here doing Olympic prep. DeAndre Yedlin, I guess, would be another one who kind of missed the cut. And I guess Shaq Moore, if you want to say it. Brian Reynolds, right? But again, he could be with the Olympics. Again, I think this one's pretty straightforward as well, and we'll see what it looks like at Nations League. On to the midfield, and here's where we're going to have an extra number, and I'm going to explain why I'd take 24. And again, if I had more access to Tyler Adams' status and state, I don't know how careful they're going to want to be with Tyler Adams and if they're going to want him to play any minutes at all. Tyler Adams was selected by Bournemouth to be on the matchday squad for the first time all season in the Premier League as he continues to come back from a hamstring injury. He's played just one game for Bournemouth since making a summer transfer from Leeds, and that was in the FA Cup in early September. When he was coming back, they signed him when he already had an injury, and then he re-aggravated it. It got worse, and again, he's just been out. So maybe it's too soon for Adams to be with the national team. Again, don't know how many minutes he can play. I'm sure Bournemouth would really love it if he got to stay in England. But for me, it's the captain. It's somebody who's the heart and soul of this team. Even if Tyler Adams can't play, I would want him with the group. And if he's back to training, he was selected for the roster, was able to play for Bournemouth last weekend and didn't play, I think he should be here. And then you use that, again, you call in 24 instead of 23, and hopefully Adams is fit either for the bench or to play some minutes or start, whatever it is. And if he is, then Gaga Slonina, whoever the third goalkeeper is, just don't dress him. And that's fine. That's easy. Or if Adams, it is too soon for him, then he doesn't dress. And I think that's where the flexibility would come with having one more. And I think you make an exception here for your captain and somebody who's so important to this team. Outside of Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, and Luca De La Torre. Again, I think this is pretty straightforward. It's a very, very deep group, very talented group. Some names that missed the cut, Leonard Maloney, Brendan Aronson, Gianluca Busio. Again, those are three tough cuts. I almost wanted to give myself a cheap out by just hoping that it's a 26-man roster. He'll just call more players for camp and just so I didn't have to make these tough decisions because, again, like Brendan Aronson, this would be a great time to put your arm around him and say, hey, we believe in you, even though things haven't gone perfectly at Union Berlin, all of that. But again, if it's a 23, 24-man roster, it's going to be really tough to drop one of these other players. And again, you're already using a roster slot on Gio Reyna, who's played, 45 minutes for Nottingham Forest since signing in the winter on loan from Borussia Dortmund in search of more consistent playing time. Again, Reyna and Aronson, I think that both players are going to be very important to the national team, and they still have bright futures. They're still very talented. I think that, again, everybody goes kind of through peaks and valleys in their careers. And if there was more room here, I would love to see both of them called. So Berhalter and the staff could say, hey, we believe in you. You're still a big part of this team. But again, that would be super unfortunate to drop, say, Luca De La Torre or somebody else. And Johnny Cardoso is a must-pick for what he's done with Real Betis. He's been excellent so far in La Liga. Settled immediately. Among La Liga defensive midfielders in La Liga, he's 99th percentile in interceptions, 94th percentile in tackles, 97th percentile in clearances. He's defensively elite at that position right now, and that's been the main concern for when Tyler Adams wasn't available, because with Yunus Musa, with Weston McKennie, those are two really, really good central midfielders. There wasn't a like-for-like Tyler Adams backup. You could play Yunus Musa kind of as the single pivot because of what he can do on the ball. And again, Johnny Cardoso, there are a few players in the world who can do what Tyler Adams does defensively against the ball, in transition and everything. But what he's doing so far in La Liga is the closest facsimile. And again, this is something that I didn't even think that was going to be able to be replicated in the player pool when Tyler Adams wasn't available. So that's been a wonderful development for the national team and the national team pool since Johnny Cardoso moved to Spain. Up top, center forward and wingers, Balogun, Paredes, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, Tim Weah. And again, I kind of threw Aronson on the missed the cut here as well, because I kind of went back and forth. You could bring Paredes to the U23 camp and again to support Brendan Aronson and bring him in the group. But Paredes has started all these games. He started each of Wolfsburg's last 7 games. He's a first team starter now. I think you got to reward that as well. And I know he's a confident kid. I know he's somebody who was going to believe that he should be here, as every professional athlete should, as every national team caliber player should. So I think it'd really be tough on him to leave him with the U23s. But again, I think that's a realistic outcome here because of how important Brendan Aronson has been to the squad. Other players that missed out, Alejandro Zendejas is playing very well with Copa America, Taylor Booth, Brandon Vasquez, who has settled extremely well at CF Monterrey, Haji Wright, Jordan P. Folk, and Cade Cowell. Cade Cowell is going to be with the 23s. That's easy. Right, and then there's the same names that have been in the mix for the last few years as we've been having these discussions ad nauseum about center forward and everything else for the national team. So I think you just kind of roll with Balogun, Josh Sargent, and Ricardo Pepi as your starting trio, or as your center forward trio to choose from going into Nations League. And again, we'll see kind of how it works out. Pulisic is having the best year of his career. He's got 8 goals and 6 assists in 1,900 Serie A minutes. This move to AC Milan, again, this is not groundbreaking information or new information. It's just been phenomenal. I'm so happy that it worked out this way. I think at the beginning of the summer or last spring when it was clear he was going to leave Chelsea, it's like, all right, like what teams could make sense? And AC Milan was at the top of my list, and I was like, I don't know if they're going to have the money. Like Napoli was another one if they sold their like Napoli was another option depending on who they kept, who they sold after their title-winning season. I thought that he was going to fit in Serie A very, very well, and it's been even better than I think we could have reasonably expected. And Milan has been such a good fit for him. So kudos to that. Soccer is a weak link sport in that it's more important the quality of the collective than say in basketball, which is a strong link sport. You try to get the best players, whatever, and they can carry you more so than your fifth starter can. But at these international levels in these knockout type games, having your alpha male, having your star forward in Christian Pulisic coming in with the form he's in right now, would be phenomenal for the U.S. national team, and that would make them dangerous, obviously in Nations League. But again, if Pulisic or Balogun or Reina or whoever isn't playing up to like a match-winning level in Copa America, I don't think they're going to go very far. So Pulisic's form, the year he's having, has been a godsend, I think, for this group. And again, I'm really, really excited. Again, it's boring to talk about the Nations League, except I keep on talking about the Copa America because that's where my focus is, and that's where I'm going to frame all of my thoughts and all of the context is going to come. Okay, what does this mean moving forward? How they play against Jamaica, and then hopefully in the final against probably Mexico or maybe Panama, right? Like, so all of this to say is viewed for Copa America this summer. All right, for you visual learners out here, this is what the roster kind of looks like in a depth chart form, and that gives away the starting 11 that I would like to see next Thursday against Jamaica. Matt Turner in goal, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Serginho Dest across the back line, Johnny Cardoso starting at defensive midfield because I'm very much assuming that Adams isn't going to be 90 minutes fit to start, but hey, if he is, then start him. McKennie and Musa in the midfield because Gio Reyna hasn't played enough to warrant the playing as a 10. I really like them, this group, playing with a 10, but I would like to see Johnny, McKennie, and Musa as the midfield trio rather than Reyna or Tillman playing as a 10 and having to drop Johnny from the starting lineup. And then the front three picks itself: Pulisic, Balogun, and Weah. Let's see how this game goes. I'm very excited to watch another competitive match for the U.S. national team, but again, mostly excited that it's this window, and then we get to Copa America, and that's what it's going to be all about for this year. That'll do it today. Should be hopefully a busy week here on this YouTube channel. We got obviously this video that just came out today. MLS 5 aside, we're going to do tomorrow. Again, sorry for the delay. I'd prefer for this to be out on Mondays, but Monday morning I was going straight to the city, again, to be with the athletic folks for the last 2 days. So I was a little bit tied up. So again, I'd prefer that video. The idea is going to be for MLS 5 side to come out on Monday mornings. But again, for the second time in 3 weeks, it's going to be on a Wednesday. Sorry, it's on me. But that'll come this week. And then I'm going to start a Football Manager MLS save. Hopefully that video will be up pretty soon. Should be fun. Hopefully it'll be fun.